All right. Microsoft Xbox One X will run better on 1080p TVs. All right, so I have a pretty good understanding of this architecture. It's been out for the past couple of years. I have some things to say about it, but basically it sounds like, to the extent that they're talking about, is mostly upscaling.
Yeah, or super sampling, however you want to, or downscaling. I don't know, however you want to say it. It's basically super sampling. They're going to put out 4 times as many pixels and reduce it down to your 1080p TV.
Yeah. So, yeah, it sounds like there's going to be some games like Rise of the Tomb Raider, which you can pick in they call it an enriched 1080, just more options, I guess, or 4K. So if the console's running at 4K, you guys know this already. NVIDIA and AMD released this a couple years ago. They call it like super sample, whatever. I can't remember, but you turn it on, and essentially when the game runs, your monitor the game runs in 4K, downscales if you have enough horsepower, and it makes it cleaner.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people don't really notice, but if you look at like games like Foliage, for instance. Foliage is a good example. So like you got like all little sticks and stuff in the background, bushes. They can kind of look blocky in a native 1080 when you upscale or super sample to this extent. Then that stuff tends to look a lot cleaner in the background.
A lot cleaner.
Yeah.
I've seen it make some big differences, particularly when I played the first Dead Space. Like the clarity that it added to the background was staggering. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah. So it really does help. And if you're going to be if you have the horsepower for it, why not use it, right? So that's kind of the way they're going with this. The reason that they're probably mostly leaning for the developers to use upscaling, though, is because this is still a 30 FPS box for the most part. And that's because of the CPU. And that's not to put any kind of, shame on the consoles or anything. There's nothing wrong with playing games at 30 FPS, in my opinion. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. For us, there's something wrong with it. For a lot of other people, there's nothing wrong with it. Says the guy with the 144 hertz monitor.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah. I have a funny story about that. I don't really know if I want to tell everybody, but maybe I'll tell you offline.
Yeah, okay. So, where was I? Lost my train of thought now. God damn it, old man brain.
Super sampling for 1080p.
Okay, so when you're designing an APU, the problem with the APU is it's cool. It's a system on a chip, but when you're designing a game or a box for gaming specifically, you only have so much heat that you can take off the chip, right? So where are you going to put most of that? You're going to put it in the GPU. So there's not as much left for the CPU. So the CPU has to be a lower clocked, power efficient part of the die. And so because of that, they don't have a lot of the CPU to do like, physics calculations, AI calculations like there is on a PC, where that is a separate part of the board. And you can dissipate that a lot easier. Let alone that a PC can be a lot bigger box too. So at the end of the day, like a lot of these games, unless they're doing something fancy, like I don't know if the new Xbox One X will be able to do any kind of HSA where basically you can offload a lot of this to the GPU or not. I'm sure there probably is. But at the end of the day, if your CPU can't handle it, you're stuck at 30 FPS regardless of the resolution on the box, or what the GPU can actually do. So I think that's why they're kind of going more this route. It seems like they did something to Tomb Raider, or Tomb Raider's just, really well optimized on those CPUs to the point that they can do a 60 or something. I still remember Tomb Raider on the Hamburglar edition of the PlayStation, the Pro. Yeah.
Right.
Just okay. I got this in Brian's head last night, and he couldn't stop laughing.
You're gonna have to explain it because it's too inside now.
Yeah. So I call it the Hamburglar because it's 3 stacks, and I just imagine like a McDonald's, like crappy like red yellow version with like the 2 stacks are like bread, one's like the burger, and in between the cracks there's like plastic lettuce and cheese sticking out of it and stuff, and some googly eyes.
AKA
on it.
The worst console mod you've ever seen in your life.
Oh, you gotta put the little hat on the top of it too.
You gotta have a hat.
Yeah.
Or a fold-down Foreman grill accessory to really utilize the cooking potential of the PS4 Pro.
So if you ever hear me call it Hamburglar Edition, that's why. Because that's what it looks like to me. At least in my head. So at the end of the day, when it comes to this, it comes to the PS4 Pro. This is why they're leaning on this to make the games look better, is because it just doesn't have the horsepower because of the fact that it is a SoC design. And that's perfectly fine. That's where I would put the power to if I honestly could. But every once in a while, you'll get those games that can run 60 on that CPU, and they'll probably have an option where you can run more fidelity or more, graphical settings in the background and stuff. I think probably that's kind of a moot point for a lot of console gamers, because I don't think they really look for that anyways. Like, they've never had the option before, so like, why would they even notice it,
I think you would be talking way over the heads of the majority of console gamers by even having that conversation.
Yeah.
I think what this is a smart move at the right time, because people are getting wise to the fact that the biggest selling point for the new consoles, whether it's the One S or the One X or whatever, is they're supporting 4K TVs. There's plenty of people out there still haven't pulled the trigger on a 4K TV yet, and there's really not much reason to. We've talked about that before. So by highlighting, it's like, hey, 1080p guys, like, we're going to give you a superior gaming experience as well. Now you're putting the right message out there that's going to be able to put more consoles in hands at Christmas time by not excluding those 1080p guys. Mm-hmm. So they're talking about the right thing. How effective it's going to be in practice, really, for me, remains to be seen.
Yeah, and the other thing that we're forgetting here too is that, 4K just came out a couple years ago. How many people do you know that actually has a 4K TV? Like, honestly.
Honestly, I know 2 people in real life that have a 4K TV, and I know one guy that has a 4K HDR TV, and the only reason he does is because he tests 4K TVs, not because he is a consumer.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, I know next to nobody. I know basically Kyle, and I don't know if Paul got one yet or not, but I know Kyle's got a 4K TV. That's like the only person I know that has a 4K TV right now. If anybody, okay, and another guy. So I know 2. But I'm also somebody who knows a lot of people in the tech space and stuff. And that says something when you have people that are tech reviewers and a ton of them still don't have 4K TVs. There's something there. So, yeah, and I can see why people are kind of going down on the X, because it's like it fits a niche that doesn't really exist yet. But I think we're definitely going to get there slowly. So over time, it makes sense. And then, of course, I think they realized this and released it at the right time. You buy in now, there's kind of a premium. When 4K becomes more of a thing, they start getting the gaming stuff worked out with the TVs and all that, then that price is just going to go down over time. So, yeah. It's like, actually, pretty cool. Freaking LTT and 8K cameras. No comment.
Yeah. I get the impression they'll start... I feel like the market will start talking about 8K here in like way earlier than we needed to.
Yeah.
Way earlier than we need. We know we've talked at length about this before, but I just don't. America's just not 4K ready yet. We're just not. We don't have the internet infrastructure. The cable systems aren't ready. I don't know. You're not going to have me chasing another format this early in the game.
Yeah. Have you?
As a guy who has, I have a PC that's capable of 4K 60 FPS on at least, we'll say, 80% of titles. Still don't have a 4K TV.
Yeah. And it's like, I'm 4K capable at 30, just like a console, because it's not, the GPU I have is about the same power as an Xbox One X. So, yeah, if I didn't care about frame rate, I'd be going that route. But anyways.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. I think it's an important marketing move for them right now, and it's nice that 1080p guys don't feel like they're being, left in the dirt. At the end of the day, is it enough? Is it enough value for me to recommend that somebody buy a 1X over a 1S? No, it's not.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah. And that's kind of the way I feel about it too. Matter of fact, I was thinking about getting a PS4 recently, and every time I looked at it, I didn't even think about the Hamburglar edition at all. I was just like, whatever.
So you're saying the Pro wasn't even on the menu for you at all? It didn't even cross your mind?
No. Even
with the tease of increased performance on 1080p platform, because PS4 has been talking the same game, right?
So, okay, I watched that. Now we'll get into the real nerdy stuff with the way the PS4 works, because I actually know quite a bit about that. PS4, the original one, had the APU on that was 1152. Okay, and this might be a wake up call to some people. So Polaris is 2304. Take 1152 by times 2. What do you got? 2304.
It's too early for math.
Yeah. So the way that thing works is all they're doing is anytime you put a PS4 game in there and it's not able to run on the Pro natively, they have what's called like boost or whatever. So the way that GPU works is it essentially shuts off half of the GPU to go back to 1152, and then you just clock it up to whatever the Pro does when it's in Pro mode, as opposed to the 800 megahertz. So it's like 933 instead.
All right.
Same thing with the CPU. That's the only thing the performance is doing. It's not actually using the GPU. And in the games that do use it, they're doing a lot of the same thing where it's like upscaling for the most part because of the same limitation with the CPU or whatnot. There's very few games out there that do extra frame rate. Tomb Raider does to a certain extent, but from what I've seen, it still doesn't cap. It doesn't do like a solid 60, and a lot of times it's actually doing like 45. So you get screen tearing and stuff like that.
Ugh.
So okay. I would just rather play it at 30 and have it super sample instead or something like that.
Sure.
Yeah, so it's a lot of the same, honestly. It really is a lot of the same that's going to be on the X. It's not really surprising. The other thing I was kind of wondering is how similar these two consoles have been together, because they kind of use like an X scalar design, so there's not actually a chipset like there is on a PC. So there's some really weird things going on. For instance, like on the PS4, the optical drive is hooked up to SATA, and it's SATA directly to that X scalar chip. However, the hard drive goes SATA to a chip that converts it to USB 3 into the thing. And that's one of the reasons why, if you ever seen people do like tests, if they get something like one of the WD hybrid drives, it shows a performance increase. But once you get an SSD in there, it's not much of a different performance increase because it can't really ping at the rate it needs for an SSD, because it's technically USB 3.0, like Gen 1. So when they say they're going to have faster loading times on this thing, did they finally actually put like correct SATA on there or something? I don't know. Are they doing a hybrid drive? That's the thing I'm interested. The low blowout out scale that they had at PDX showed like a 3.5 inch drive in it.
Yeah, I don't, and there is some I don't know, some controversy around the internal storage of the new one. Like, I can't find anything that tells me exactly what they're using for internal storage, other than the fact that it's a 1 terabit and it is a 5400 RPM drive, and supposedly it's faster than the Xbox One S. I don't know what's slower than a 5400 RPM drive, but
yeah,
there has to be, some sort of RAM drive technology or some increase in memory bandwidth. It's something.
Maybe,
and I think
maybe they're pre-caching too, like we talked about that too. So,
yep. Yeah, I don't know. It'll be interesting. I still don't think. I mean, unless you're just one of those guys with money to blow, and you have to have the. I mean, I don't. God, is there still like? All right, honestly, man, is there still a market for guys that have to have the absolute bleeding edge console performance that haven't considered or made the jump to the PC platform yet? Like, is there still a person out there like that? Because once I realized that my prime motivator for being a console gamer was trying to get the best graphical fidelity I could, then I couldn't justify not moving to the PC platform. There just wasn't a justification for me anymore. How can you be like?
I would like to think that way, but here's my problem with that chain of thought. Is there's multiple reasons for multiple different things, and that's why there's choice out there, right?
Sure.
There's people that want the best graphical fidelity. However, whether they're afraid of it or they just don't want to mess with it, they don't want to build a PC or something like that. They don't want to deal with driver updates and all that. That's fine. That's why you have an Xbox One X. That's why you have Hamburglar Edition, okay? So when it comes to... He's just not going to get over that. He's gonna...
It's going to make me laugh because the mental image I have is so amazing that I have to see it come to fruition at some point in my lifetime.
But here's the thing that always irked me about being a PC gamer is every time somebody's like, oh, you're a PC gamer, so you're automatically labeled a graphics whore or something like that. There's multiple reasons why people would be on a PC. It's just not that. Like, my reason being is I'm somebody that I have a 144 hertz monitor. I like smoothness. I like motion. Like, actually sitting this close to a monitor and having lower frame rate can sometimes make me sick. Okay. So the reason being that I like PC is I like the FPS. And I'm not so much about the graphics all the time. So I'm not somebody that's like above like turning the graphics down to medium if it's going to get me like higher frame rate up into the hundreds.
Okay. Yeah, and there's guys out there like that.
Yeah.
Sure.
So people need to understand you can't just box everything into like one reason or another, because people are inherently just different for different reasons. And I think these guys that are marketing these consoles right now for 4K or the regular one, if you want a cheaper one or something like that, realize that. And I wish kind of the PC segment would understand that, because it seems like everything for PC, like if you want the absolute best, it's like built for performance. There's really not like sexy like budget boards and stuff like that, you know?
No, there's not. When you start paying for aesthetics, you start really like if aesthetics is going to be a concern when you're building a box, you're going to blow your budget. You just are. That's just the way it is.
Yeah. So it's like, yeah, we put things into boxes. I think maybe the console guys are starting to learn a little bit, and that's where I can see the downfall of PC a little bit, is they need to learn that not everybody's on PC for the same reason.
No, you're not. I mean, there's still a lot of misunderstanding about what the PC gaming community is for people that are primarily console gamers. Like, one of my favorite questions when I talk to people at work, and it's not very often that I meet another PC gamer in real life, even though I have a job where I meet literally hundreds of people a week. It's just not really not nearly as widespread as console use. One of my favorite questions is, oh, so you play on PC? So like, what games do you play on that?
Yeah.
Because there's no understanding that I play the same games you do, bro, for the most part. Like 95% of the time I'm playing the same titles you are. Like, yeah, we have our exclusive. You have your exclusives, whatever. But people think that, I mean, and it's not like I've heard it a couple times. I've heard it a lot of times that people think that, oh, you play computer games. Like they're just totally different or subpar versus a console experience. So there's just, there's some misunderstanding. So I'm sure there's a market for this. Obviously, there's a market for the One X because pre-sales on the Scorpio literally blazed off the shelf, like in a fashion that was astounding to me. I was in utter disbelief that those sold out as fast as they did. So I know there's a market for it. I know there's guys out there with big 4K TVs that maybe aren't technical but just enjoy playing games. Grew up on console. Console's what they know. But, the One S for me always makes a nice living room accessory piece, particularly as we see these titles you can play on, on Windows 10. Like Horizon. It's awesome. I can sit down and play it whichever way I want to when I come home.
Yeah.
But, for me, I can't get behind telling somebody they should spend $500 on this console. I just can't.
Yeah. And before we move on, the thing I'm just going to say about this, I say to everybody, you know what? We all have the same goal. We all game. We all enjoy stuff. I just love that fact about each other. Stop fighting about graphics and FPSs and all this other dumb crap.
Oh yeah.
Make that a
okay. So all right. So in the vein of that, I'm going to offer up this confession today. Yes, I have a 1440p G-Sync 144 hertz monitor. Love it. Had it for a long time. Spent way too much money on it, but I wouldn't trade it for the world. So it turns out if you're not careful about your Windows desktop settings in Windows 10, it will forever lock regardless of what the game is doing, it will forever lock to whatever your refresh rate is set to in Windows. So since I moved and rebuilt my test bed, so we're talking about 9 months here, I have effectively been playing my 144 hertz monitor at 60 hertz.
Wow.
The whole time. And didn't even realize until I was the only reason I did is because I was replaying Wolfenstein recently, and I didn't realize that on PC that engine was locked at 60 FPS, and it looked odd to me. It also it plays funny with G-Sync. You still get some screen tearing if you turn V-Sync off for some reason, which is not something you normally see out of G-Sync. So I started digging, and that's what I found out. So I'm not too proud, and I'm certainly not ever going to shit on somebody for what they play and how they play it and what they like or their level of technical ability or anything else. I'm the last guy that can throw stones. So, yeah, you said it perfectly, man. At the end of the day, we're all just here to play some games and have a good time, regardless of your budget or your preferences or what have you. Because even guys with a little bit of dough make some really stupid mistakes sometimes.
Deep Thoughts by Jack Handy.
I feel better that I got that off my chest.
All right.
I feel a little bit better now.